right, everybody. Happy President's Day and welcome to another edition of Q&A Social Security Disability Today. I'm attorney Anthony Reeves, and this is proudly brought to you by the Reeves Law Firm, www.reevesfirm.com. Got a few questions for this week, so let's go ahead and get cracking. All right, someone asked a question about how can a person on disability, especially after 7 years, expect to be treated as equals returning to the workforce and or school? The second part of the question is, does the employer get a break from the government somehow by employing these people and or is denying these people discrimination? This comes up a little bit more in the context of employment as opposed to Social Security. At some point in time, if you're on disability, you're probably thinking about going back into the workforce. But then you're probably asking yourself this question. You've been out a while, you've got an impairment, and so you're concerned that you might be treated differently or adversely if you're going back out into the workforce and you have this disability and employers might treat you wrong. People, there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. First of all, the American with Disabilities Act prohibits employers from discriminating against you on the basis of your disability. So if you're going out into the workforce and you're attempting to do the work, of course, employers are going to do all they can to try to accommodate you. So don't feel that because you have a disability that they're going to discriminate against you. Also, there's a variety of different agencies, like agencies for persons with disabilities, things like that that are designed to assist you if you're disabled with getting back out into the workforce. And you'll be surprised. There's a lot of employers that take pride in employing disabled workers. So for those of you who are thinking about trying to get off a disability because you've been on it for a while, or you just feel like you can make a lot more money, which you can, working as opposed to going for disability, are there going to be some employers out there that may discriminate against you? Let's just be real. There are going to be employers that may discriminate against you because you're black, you're a woman, your ethnic origin, your religion, and yes, because of your disability. So don't feel that there's none of them are out there. There's always that possibility. But trust when I tell you, there's an equal number of employers, if not more, who take a full advantage of the multitude of the workforce, including taking advantage of those people, of having those people. I don't want you to say taking advantage meaning using, but they enjoy the fact of having disabled workers. So if you're thinking about going into the workforce first, make sure you let Social Security know so that you don't find yourself in a weird situation where you've gone back to work and then all of a sudden you owe the government money. But secondly, pay close attention to the fact that there are employers that look forward to working with disabled workers. So don't hold that against you. Don't think they'll hold that against you. All right? Now, third question is, does Social Security look at one of my conditions or all of my impairments? Right now, we'll take it on any grounds and probably we'll get it on either physical or mental at this point. So would it be the strongest because of one condition, or are they going to look at all of them? Now, that's a very good question, because a lot of times what happens is people, when they apply based on one condition that they believe is the worst. Social Security has the responsibility of doing two particular things. One, they are going to look at the condition that severely impairs your ability to perform your significant activities, whether it be your daily activities, perform the work you used to do, or anything else. Also, they are required to look at the combination of all of your severe impairments. This typically comes up when I find people who apply for one thing and maybe Social Security has determined there's some other things that are going on as well, and people are like, well, that ain't got nothing to do, I'm going for this. So say for instance you apply because of your migraines, but you also got a bad back that's really bad too, but in your mind the worst thing is your migraines. So you're all of a sudden they're sending you to a doctor to see migraines, and see for your back, and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't come here for my back, I came here for my migraines. Slow down, pause. That's actually to your advantage, because what's happened is Social Security has acknowledged, or they're investigating the fact that they believe that not only is your migraines bad, but possibly your back is severe too. Social Security has a responsibility to review the combination of all of your severe impairments. So for those of you who applied for one condition and for some reason Social Security is investigating other conditions that are giving you problems as well, Don't go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because they're sitting here telling you that they're going to investigate those things. And also, remember, it's a severe impairment. So please, also on the other side, don't take the kitchen sink approach. If you're if you got migraines, let's use the migraine example. Let's say you have migraines, but then you also have a really bad back and you're taking oxycodone for it or Vicodin and you're on therapy, but you just thought the migraines is the biggest thing. And then you realize they're investigating your back too. Don't be like, ooh, let me tell them about everything else. Okay, I had the flu, I got high blood pressure. Let me see, and you start going down the line, all these other conditions that don't have anything to do with your ability to work, meaning they don't affect you. Like you have the flu, but that's only going to last a few weeks. Remember, your condition has to last 12 months or more. You've got high blood pressure, but you take medication and it's under control. Now, you can list it, they'll look at it, but they may rule it out because it's not as severe as your migraines, which knocks you out, 4 or 5 days out the month, and your back, which you're on physical therapy and pain management. So, yes, they do look at one of your conditions, but they also have a responsibility for looking at all of your conditions that affect your ability to work. So, thank you very much for that question. Now, somebody asked the question, why don't people say what the real denial is? In other words, why didn't Social Security say what the real denial is? And it's the biggest reason why we have issues we do for us with real disabilities. This is one that frustrates people all the time because a lot of times you'll get these decisions from Social Security. These are the first two. If you're in a state that has two levels of appeal or a state that just has one, you'll usually get a decision that basically says we've decided that either it's going to say either a couple of things. You can go back to do work you used to do. You can go back and do your past work. You don't have enough credits. Some of the ones that are real straightforward, the ones that says you have done enough credits is usually a technical denial. Or they'll say, well, we found that you don't have anything that disables you before this date, which is an insurance issue. Or they'll say, we think you can go back and do the work that you used to do. And it frustrates people because what happens is that it doesn't really tell you exactly what the reason you were disabled. And the problem is that at the initial level, they're not going to tell you everything because they can't give you everything at that particular point in time. Let me explain a little bit more. When you get to the hearing level and the judge denies you, the judge will go through all the evidence and explain to you why they gave weight to certain evidence and why they didn't do it for others. They're also going to describe to you why they felt that you could do this work as opposed to that work. They really will break it down for you. And the document will be about a good 7 to 8, 9, 10 pages long. That's usually the type of decision that most people want. But even then, I always tell people it's two things you need to understand. First, at the early level, at the local office, they're giving you a form denial. They're basically going to tell you, hey, we think that based on this is what we have. They may not have all the medical evidence at that time, but they're not going to put that in their decision. They may say, we tried to reach out to this person, he didn't get back with us, but they're not going to put that in their decision. There may be an indication in there that you've got people saying that you say that you're this bad, but then the medical records show something else. They're not going to put that in the decision. That's not going to probably come up to the hearing level. Now, when you get to the hearing level, this is where people need to understand that there may be a different interpretation of your medical evidence than what you think it is. And that's where a lot of times people get upset when they're like, at the lower level, all they said was this. Well, unfortunately, they're just giving you their opinion as to the denial. You're not going to be able to fight it unless you appeal it. That's the nature of the appeal. And this is the other thing that you got to be aware of. When somebody denies you, and let me just be blunt when I say this, and I know somebody's not going to like it. When somebody denies you, stop stressing over the fact that they denied you. Appeal it. That's the issue. If you think they got it wrong, appeal it and keep fighting. But what happens is a lot of people that get the denial and they're so mad about the fact that they believe that Social Security did them wrong and they want to sit there and they want to vent about it. Don't vent. The time you take your venting, you could have went and appealed it and kept your fight. Especially if you believe you have a strong case. Appeal it and keep fighting. It really is one of those things. It's almost like, and I hate to use this as an example, if you're in a boxing match and you get knocked out, why are you dwelling on the fact that you got knocked out and you lost? Because the fact of the matter is you can't go back and you cannot go back and undo the fact that you got knocked out. What you can do is you can ask for a rematch, get the rematch, and train for another fight. Those are the things that you can control. So don't worry about controlling about what they put in there that you couldn't see right away. Keep appealing it. Eventually, you'll get a chance to fight it and keep the fight going. Now, last question. How do we report Social Security fraud? Very simple. If you have a reason to believe that someone has committed Social Security fraud, you notify Social Security. Tell them the facts involved in the situation, lay out what happened, and then they will take the responsibility of investigating and determining whether fraud was committed. Now, keep in mind, this is a governmental agency that's tasked with the responsibility of reviewing these cases, so they're not going to let you know the outcome. They are going to investigate the fraud. They're going to make a determination of whether or not they believe fraud has existed. It's enough that you've let them know. Social Security doesn't play. They have an internal fraud unit that does investigate, that will takes care of investigations. So keep that thought in mind. Fraud is not, now for those of you who are like, oh, there's fraud out there. Fraud is not as bad as you think. Social Security investigates it very regularly, and let me throw this out here as an endpoint. If they find it, you will be in trouble. FYI. All right, everybody. Again, I want to thank you for your questions for this Q&A Social Security Disability today. Again, keep posting your comments and sending me questions, and I will make a point to address them at the beginning of every week. And if there's something that's really unique, I'll make sure to do a special video during the week. Have a wonderful day. If you have any more questions, you can come back here, or you can visit me at www.reevesfirm.com, or you can visit my blog at legalbeat.anthonyreeves.com.